Hey everybody, it's Jim from Cigars, and it's a beautiful fall day today, and I am outside smoking an Oliva Serie V Lancero. Ideally, in a perfect world, I'd be smoking a Cohiba Lancero, but I'm not. And you know what? The Serie V Lancero is almost as good. So that's the whole point of this video. I'm going to talk about some what I call Cuban swap outs. That's where we can smoke a non-Cuban cigar that will not, and don't get me wrong, it will not duplicate the Cuban experience, but it will come close enough and make up the price difference and the inconvenience of trying to buy Cuban cigars from the US. And if you're watching this outside of the US, cost is an important factor too. We can get a good cigar for about 10% of what it costs for the Cuban counterpart. That's what this video is about. I'm going to take you quickly through some examples, and then we're going to do some head-to-head matchups. So I'll see you in a minute. All right, I'm back inside after enjoying that Oliva V Lancero. And let's talk first about some general swap outs based on the strength and body of various popular Cuban brands. So let's start with the mild ones. The brands that we're talking about here are Cuban Fonseca and St. Louis Rey, which are strong players for the mild cigar category as far as Cuban cigars go. The first one I want to talk about is the J.C. Newman Perla del Mar Shade. That's a good cigar. I've smoked a few of those, and that is a really nice cigar. So I would strongly recommend that one as far as a swap out. The second one is another one I've reviewed and like, which is a Drew Estate Undercrown Shade. The third one I'd put as a swap out would be the Camacho Connecticut. So those are three good Connecticut's that I think you could swap out for those Cuban brands. In terms of medium, we're talking about H. Upmann, Romeo and Julieta, and Punch as far as being the main players in the medium category that we're going to compare to. First one, My Father Fonseca. The interesting thing about that has a 3-seam cap, which is very Cuban-esque. It also comes in the petite Corona size, 4 1/4 by 40. And in Cuba, they smoke a lot of cigars a day, so they tend to smoke petite Coronas quite a bit. Another good one, though, is Plasencia's Alma del Campo. That's a great swap out. And back to My Father cigars for the Flor de la Antilles. My Father is a good example because a lot of these cigars that we're talking about, the swap outs, are developed and blended by families that were originally in Cuba in the pre-Castro days and fled and created their own cigar brands out of a lot of Cuban seeds that they brought along with them. Let's look next at full bodies, specifically swap outs for Cohiba and Partagas full-bodied cigars. A good one is Joya de Nicaragua Antaño. That is an excellent one, full-bodied cigar that matches up really well to those. Another one is one we all know, the Padron 1926. Arturo Fuente has the Don Carlos line, which is very Cuban-esque and a good swap-out candidate as well. Let's look at a couple more of those direct swap-outs. We already talked about the Cohiba Lancero and the Oliva V Lancero. One good swap-out is for the Partagas DE No. 4, which is currently the most popular Cuban cigar in the world. A good swap-out for that one, believe it or not, the good old Padron 2000. And the Partagas D is not particularly expensive as Cuban cigars go, maybe 35 bucks or so. But the Padron 2000, easy to get at any cigar store or online for about 8 or 9 bucks a stick. Last one we're going to talk about is the Monte Cristo No. 2 Cuban, which is the second most popular Cuban cigar in the world right now. And a good trade-off for that, although price-wise it isn't too much of a savings, is the Ashton ESG 22-year Salute. These are both torpedo type cigars, and they're about the same size. And the Ashton is an aged tobacco, a very high quality cigar. And actually the Monte Cristo No. 2 Cuban doesn't have a great reputation in terms of construction consistency, where the Ashton is really superior in that respect. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something out of it. I want to make the point again, when we talk about these swap outs, we aren't saying we can match the Cuban cigar experience, but I think the ones we talked about come pretty darn close. If you get a chance, give some of them a try. I will see you next time from Cigars.